Now, there were many fly monkey arguments being bandied around about the whole doxing issue and whether or not Devon was, of course, guilty of doxing. Some of them will go so far as to say that what he did was not even doxing. Now, what are they saying and why are they saying this? And how am I going to refute this? And how should you, dear viewer, if you think about making a video about this because you disagree with these people, how do you refute this? Well, this video is for you. Now, one of the main arguments that they use is the doxing isn't doxing because the information is already public. The information can be found on, say, phone books, so like the yellow pages, or electoral registers, which are public information. So how can it be doxing if they're just using something that's already public? Well, the thing is that that's not the same, because those things, like phone books and electoral registers, are benign. They just have the information there. They're not using it with a bad intent. The difference is intent. If you go out there and take someone's name and put it out there online to silence them, like Devon does, that is doxing. But if you're just a part of a register or part of a phone book, there is no bad intent there. It's for easily contactable information and also to prove that you are someone who can vote. That's what those things are there for. So that argument fails immediately. Another argument that they use is that your argument is invalid because you're anonymous, therefore putting your name out is okay because that would make your argument valid. Well, the law disagrees with these people, especially those who are Americans, which is most of them. Your own First Amendment pretty much states that anonymity is fine, as you can see in this screenshot here of a case in Ohio and also in California, where they state anonymous pamphlets, leaflets, brochures, and even books have played an important role in the progress of mankind. Great works of literature have frequently been produced by authors writing under assumed names. Despite readers' curiosity and the public's interest in identifying the creator of a work of art, an author generally is free to decide whether or not to disclose her true identity. The decision in favour of anonymity may be motivated by fear of economic or official retaliation, by a concern about social ostracism, or merely by a desire to preserve as much of one's privacy as possible. Whatever the motivation may be, at least in the field of literary endeavour, the interest in having anonymous works enter the marketplace of ideas unquestionably outweighs any public interest in requiring disclosure as a condition of entry. Accordingly, an author's decision to remain anonymous, like other decisions concerning omissions of additions to the content of a publication, is an aspect of the freedom of speech protected by the First Amendment. And it goes on to say, the freedom to publish anonymously extends beyond the literary realm. In Talley, the court held that the First Amendment protects the distribution of unsignalled handbills urging readers to boycott certain Los Angeles merchants who are allegedly engaging in discriminatory employment practices. So as you can see, anonymity is protected under the First Amendment, and also it is a legitimate form to use in regards to creativity or even for debate. So their arguments are totally valid because they are anonymous, and that gives you no right to expose these people's names to the internet in the basic attempt to silence them or some other nefarious acts. Now, a lot of these people claim that doxing is legal and that doxing is not, against the rule of law. Well, the EU has something to say about that. Yes, the EU. And in this document, it proves that, anonymity is protected and should be protected, and that people and governments should not have a right to destroy someone's anonymity based on something that they do not like. Over the past 25 years, it has become apparent that one of the greatest threats to this fundamental right to privacy is the ability for organisations to accumulate large amounts of information about individuals in a digital form, which lends itself to high speed and now very low cost manipulation, alteration and communications to others. Concerns about this development and the potential misuse of such personal data has led all European member states and now the community with Directive 95/46 EC to adopt specific data protection laws which set down a framework of rules governing the processing of personal information. A basic data protection principle is that the personal data collected in any situation should be limited to that which is necessary and relevant to the purpose. All personal information is a potential threat to an individual's privacy, and it is therefore necessary to ensure that whenever such information is collected, it is for a legitimate purpose and that the amount of information collected is restricted to a minimum. It later goes on to say, but the risks to our personal privacy lie not only in the existence of large amounts of personal data on the internet, but also in the development of software capable of searching the network and drawing together all the available data about a named person. A recent article in the Minneapolis Star-Tribune explained how one could compile a detailed biography of a randomly selected individual using such software and exploiting information from all the discussion groups in which the person participated. The newspaper was able to obtain the person's address and telephone number, place of birth, where he studied, his profession, his current workplace, his interest in amateur theatre, his favourite type of beer, his preferred restaurants and holiday destinations, and his views on such diverse subjects as Bill Gates and the socially repressive state of Indiana. There are already a number of sites in the United States offering such lookup services commercially. Transactional data are only a threat to individual privacy if the data relate to an identifiable person. Clearly, one way of addressing privacy concerns would therefore be to seek to ensure that wherever feasible, the data traces created by using the internet do not permit the identification of the user. With anonymity guaranteed, individuals will be able to participate in the internet revolution without fear that their every move was being recorded and information about them accumulated, which might be used at a later date for purposes to which they object. The need for anonymity in online communications is already recognised as entirely legitimate in certain situations. For example, where a victim of sexual offence or a person suffering from alcohol or drug dependency wishes to share experiences with others, where an individual contemplating suicide wishes to consult specialist online help, or where someone wishes to report a crime without fear of retaliation. In other situations, guaranteed anonymity serves to underpin not only privacy, but also freedom of expression, such as in the cases of political dissidents subject to a totalitarian political regime wishing to express their opposition to the political system in which they live and draw attention to human rights abuses. But the need for anonymity goes much wider than these specific cases. For identifiable transactional data by its very existence will create means to which individual behaviour can be surveyed and monitored to a degree that has never been possible before. Even the EU says people have a right to anonymity. So doxing is not legal. It can't be legal, especially when the EU and governments are working together to stop it from happening, be it from the government or individuals. As they have clearly noted, there is software out there that could be used to dox people and used to silence them or mistreat them or hurt them, which is sounding familiar because didn't Devon also use a hacker to dox people, that atheist emu, whatever he's called? Now, similar to what Devon and his ilk have said previously, in that, he didn't do anything because it was public. Well, the thing is, was it public before Devon released all that information, or his other flying monkeys released all that information? Or was it private before then? If we find out that people's personal details like Uzulu, who were doxed by Devon and his ilk, were private before they were made public, then Devon and the flying monkeys are guilty of doxing because it's all behind their intent. We know that they released his name, which therefore could lead to other things like his personal address, his job, etc., as we've mentioned before in some of the articles. Then they're guilty of doxing, no question, because of the intent and the fact that the information was private. But if it turns out that it was public, well then, they may not be accused of doxing, but they can certainly be accused of something similar, of using his personal details against him in order to basically dig up more information about him, which then can be doxed and used against him. Or even to be used as an example of people who cross Devon don't cross him ever. Now, I could go on, people. I have another source, but I'll link it down in the description because I believe I would just be treading old ground. That's my video on this whole doxing issue. I know a few others have done so. So until next time, I'll see you all later.